How's it going today, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for stopping by and checking out this video. Today we are going to be doing a tag video, as it says in the description and in the title. So I want to go ahead and first and foremost thank Dave from Really Big Monkey 1. He went ahead and did this video, kind of did an open tag, so I went ahead and took it upon myself to go ahead and get myself involved with this. All my years on YouTube, I have not yet done a tag video, so I thought this was a pretty interesting one that he did. It seems like it's been passed around quite a bit, but this is a pick 3 knife tag. So we're going to go ahead and discuss a bunch of different stuff. We're going to go ahead and discuss the first and foremost, your first knife that kind of got you into, whether it was camping, fishing, hunting, bushcraft, survival, so on and so forth. What kind of got you started in the whole field of the realm of knives? Number 2, we're going to talk about your current knife. Now this is going to be a difficult one because I use a lot of different knives for different applications. So we'll have some honorable mentions and we'll kind of show you a few of the ones that I went ahead and picked from my growing collection. And the third is going to be a future knife, something that you're looking into getting or something that you've had your eye on for quite some time. So we'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and tell you which one that is. So first of all, I want to kind of digress here for a moment. The reason I'm not out in the woods today and I'm here in my shop is that it is currently towards the end of February, and here in the upper Midwest, we have had some serious cold weather, a lot of snow, and it went from about -15 to 50. That's Fahrenheit, and it is a sloppy mess out in the woods. I would rather work and or play in 12 inches of snow than 1 inch of mud. So that's why we're here in my shop today, going ahead and take care of this. Like I said, I just don't feel like getting muddy today. Even though it's a beautiful day, I might get out with the family and do something, but tromping around in the woods in a bunch of mud, not my cup of tea. So if this is something you're interested in, don't go away. All right, so as I said, I went ahead and came out into the shop. I just got a big old bag of blades here. I went down in my basement. The current way that I store my knives is I have a mechanic's toolbox, you know, something like I would have in my shop here that I keep all my tools in, but down in my basement and kind of in my gear room, I keep one, and it's pretty much all blades, from machetes to hatchets to saws to folders, multi-tools, so on and so forth. So it was kind of a challenge sifting through those drawers trying to figure out which ones we were going to go ahead and get into. But I'm going to go ahead and dump this out on the table here. As I said, I got a whole bag of blades here to kind of talk about. I just got a small table here. So we're going to go ahead and kind of get into, you know, how I kind of got started into it. I can't necessarily show you my first knife. My first knife was a small little cheap folder, probably back in, I'd say 4th grade maybe. How old are you in 4th grade? Maybe 10. I grew up out in the country, and my father instilled on us the knowledge of tools and sharp objects and so on and so forth at a young age. So we were probably younger than most to get knives. It was just a small little cheap folder, and then I remember getting my first Swiss Army knife. And I'm just going to bring this one out. This is obviously not the one that I'm talking about, but the first one I got was one of the small little tiny keychain ones, and then I upgraded to one of these. And I think for a first knife, a Swiss Army knife is kind of a do-it-all for a kid. I mean, if you get any knife as a kid, you feel like you're on top of the world. You got a blade. It's pretty awesome. But probably this, what I'd probably say, kind of got me started into you know, enjoying knives, kind of getting the itch, and then it progressed from here to other folding knives. It was mainly folding knives for a lot of years. I would keep them in my pocket, and ever since I was a young age, it was instilled into us that, you know, knives are not toys, they're tools. We never even considered them as weapons. You know, they were always a tool. And I even remember in high school, I always had a pocket knife. And a quick little funny story is, in my high school, you know, growing up in the country and always, you know, being out into the outdoors, whether that was camping and hiking and hunting and fishing and things like that. As I said, a knife was always a tool. It was an invaluable tool that I always had in my pocket. And a lot of times for school, I would, you know, even when I started driving, I would get to school, I'd get out of my car or my truck. Let's see, when I had that, I had a Bronco. I'd always take it out of my pocket because I had a pocket clip. I'd always keep it in my back pocket, and I'd, you know, throw it in my truck when I'd go into school, you know, to obviously I don't condone taking knives to school. But a quick little story was, I remember one time I forgot to do that. And I walked up to my locker. My last name starts with an A, so my locker was right by the front office where all the administration is, the principals, vice principals, things like that. And I go to my locker, unload my book bag and stuff like that, and I turn around and start walking down the hall, and I hear, "Mr. Argis." And I kind of froze because it was the principal. Well, actually, at this time, it was the vice principal who later became the principal. And he had a son that was the same age as my brother, and they used to run around quite a bit, and he lived down not too far from where I was growing up at the time. And I just kind of froze, and all I hear is, "Back pocket." And I reached in my back pocket, and sure enough, there was a pocket clip sticking in there. And I just took it out, put it in my pocket, and turned around and walked outside. Nowadays, you could get expelled for that. So I do not condone taking those to school. I just thought I'd share that with you. Pocket knives were always a big thing. Kind of fast forward a lot of years, I remember getting into fixed blades. I remember always going to a military or surplus store and buying, you know, machetes and throwing knives and throwing stars and other fixed blades and bayonets and things like that. And I always had those, but you know, over the years, a lot of those have dwindled and faded and disappeared. But something that I was always into since a younger age was hunting and fishing. So I brought a few out, just kind of honorable mentions. This isn't the original one that I had, but the old trusty buck knife, which a lot of people are familiar with. This one I bought years later, and actually I think I've only taken it hunting once. But this knife is a good knife, and I had the smaller version. I ended up just buying this one and keeping it and just storing it kind of in my collection. But I remember the first buck knife I bought, I thought it was super cool. You know, it was a good American blade. It wasn't these cheap Chinese throwing stars and throwing knives that I bought in my younger years at you know, the surplus store and stuff like that. And to go along with it, one of my first fillet knives. Obviously, if you're going to be fishing, you gotta have a fillet knife. And this one here is a eagle claw, and I've had this one for so many years, and it's kind of a cheaper fillet knife, but I still use it every once in a while. It's really good for, you know, panfish, cutting up fillets, things like that. But then I migrated into the Rapalas, the martini knives. Now, martini knives, they make really good knives. They're made in Finland. They've been around about 100 years, and a lot of you guys are probably familiar with these, with the birch handle. This one is probably one of my favorites. I didn't bring them all out. I probably have a half a dozen fillet knives from the small to the big. But this has always been a go-to. It's got a good birch handle on it, and I mean, this is about as good, except for a custom fillet knife that you can get for the money. They're pretty inexpensive, 20, 30 bucks. But this is always a go-to when it comes to cleaning fish. So we'll pack that back up, and then we'll get into kind of the hunting aspect of things. I do a lot of waterfowl and deer hunting as well. The small Finnish Rapala, the small little fillet knife, is a really good bird knife as well. But one of my favorite knives, now I use this knife. This is a smaller Martini Rapala, and this is a caping knife. You can see that, just a tiny little blade, but you keep a real good edge on that thing. And this, I use a lot for cleaning birds. It's good for trout, and it's also good for processing deer. I use this, it's got a nice little finger groove there, and you can really choke up on it. And when you're doing skinning or deboning and things like that, I use this knife a lot. Really good precision work. Really love that knife. You could even use it as a neck knife or something that if you wanted. And then if you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw this knife. This is one that I use whenever I go deer hunting, and this is a pretty sweet style Rapala. It's kind of, I use this mainly for skinning, but kind of a Scandi grind. We'll call it like a Norwegian, I guess, grind. Kind of a contour, but this is even a good woods knife if you had to use it. So I know this video is supposed to be a pick 3 knife, but there's too many to choose from. So when it comes to like outdoors, other than like bushcraft and camping, these are usually my go-to knives, these Rapala knives, hunting, fishing, things like that. Really good quality knives, pretty inexpensive as well. So we'll fast forward to kind of right in the middle, the knives that I'm using today. And this is probably the hardest part, is because I'll show you my table here and what it looks like right now, because most of these knives I still use. And if I had to pick one, my favorite knife as of right now, it would probably have to be my Bark River Bushcrafter. And this knife is just a work of art. This is the Bushcrafter by Bark River. It's a CPM 154, really good quality steel, and the craftsmanship of this blade is, I mean, it's just, I mean, it's such a nice knife. Now this is one of my first like super steel / custom knives. I know it's not necessarily a custom knife, but in my mind, it's a smaller, super usable, workable knife. The geometry on the handle, it's absolutely just a work of art. And if I had to pick a favorite out of all my knives, I will have this one. Now this is going to be a knife that I'm going to pass down to my sons. It comes with a really good leather sheath that I went ahead and tanned myself. It's got a spot for a small fire steel, and what I like about this is you can wear it, you know, on your dominant side or with the angle of the belt loop. It makes a really good cross draw knife. If I'm wearing like a sidearm or something else on my dominant side, I can use it as a cross draw knife. And this for like woodworking, bushcrafting, this thing is hard to beat. Absolute favorite. But we'll go ahead and dive into a couple honorable mentions. As Dave said in his video, it's too hard to pick. Whether if I'm camping and if I'm doing a lot of like bushcraft stuff, it's going to be along the lines of a bushcraft Scandinavian grind knife. Now I have so many of them to choose from, but if it does involve food prep, I will normally stick with a stainless steel knife. And Moras, the companions especially, for 13, 14 bucks. They're super hard to beat. I have a couple of them here. So a good thing about Moras too is if you throw them in a pack or something like that, it's really hard to beat. You can switch their cases around, so depending on what you want to do, whether stainless or carbon steel. But these Mora companions are probably, you know, my favorite knives in general, just because of cost. The handles are really good, and they're just, I mean, everybody knows Moras, and I have a lot of them. But good plastic sheath, the stainless steel, whether it's food prep, like I said, try to keep with these, and I keep one or two, like these, the black and the orange one. I never use these for, you know, woodworking or anything like that. It's usually food prep when I go camping. I'll throw it in like my cook kits and things like that. Really good blades. Now, I'm going to show this one, and this is the Kanzable. This one too is a stainless steel, and if you follow me on Instagram, I've been using this one quite a bit lately, and I really do like it. But as Dave said as well, the original Mora 2000 was one of my favorite Moras. One time camping, I gifted it to a good friend of mine, and he doesn't leave home without it. He absolutely loves that knife. and I'm probably going to replace it, but I have been using this and I do really like it, but I just miss the old traditional style of the Mora 2000. For food prep and things like that, it's hard to beat. But all Moras, whether it's the cheaper companion knives to like the robust or HD knives. Now this one, I really love the handle. It's a big, thicker handle, thicker blade, and I got giant hands. So, you know, just the feel of this knife I absolutely love. And then we can go into, you know, the Bushcrafter, really good blade, the Kanzavol, and then also the Garberg for a full tang, real, like if I'm gonna go out and beat on a Mora, it's gonna be this one. It's pretty expensive, but it is a good blade. I've put this thing to use a lot. I will throw some reviews. I've done reviews on a lot of these knives, so go ahead and look up there or down below. Really good knives. So Moras are definitely one of my favorites, but if I had to pick one, it's going to be the Bark River, just for quality. Now that is for fixed blades, smaller fixed blades. If I had to pick one large blade, whether it's a chopper or a machete, there's no questions about it. The one that I'm going to pick every time, and a lot of times I bring this if I'm not going to take an axe, and it is a workhorse. And this one is housed in my custom Kydex that a subscriber made me years ago. And this is the Tarava Skrama bush tool. And she's still a little dirty, but man, oh man, this, if I had to pick one large knife, this guy here is a workhorse. This is a demolition tool when it comes to wood. A real heavy chopper. If I need to cut down a tree with this thing, I know I can. When it comes to batoning and splitting, I mean, I got a lot of hardwoods up here. I'm not surrounded by, you know, pines and things like that. It's a lot of, you know, oaks and maples and so on and so forth. And this thing just chews them up and spits them out. Absolutely love this knife. Same thing, follow me on Instagram. I got a lot of pictures of this guy. A lot of guys don't like the handle, but I do. If you had to do some finer tasks, you can. And then if you really need that leverage, you can come all the way back here and just chop, chop, chop. It's an outstanding knife. Kind of hard to get, but if you're able to get one, I would highly recommend it. And then it's housed in this guy here, awesome sheath. I keep a Leatherman Wave, fire steel, Bic lighter, small little Magnite light on there, and a small little stropping leather strap on the back with some compound, green compound on it, so you can touch up some knives in the field. So, where are we at? We're kind of rambling on here. A couple honorable mentions. This is the Jacari Puko 110. Really like this knife as well. Honorable mention. Real thick, stout, heavy-duty knife. Pairs well with the Skrama, and the leather sheath is absolutely fantastic. Dangler system, snap, beautiful work of art. Real workhorse. And then secondly is a lot of Condor knives. So this is the Bush Lore. Same thing with the micarta handle. This one gets used a lot. It's actually, I'm almost embarrassed to show it because it's so beat up. This was my favorite knife for a long time, a lot of years. This thing never left my side. Good knife. And if we're gonna fast forward to the third knife, the knife that I've had my eye on, the one in the distance that I really am looking forward to buying is, I don't know. I have so many knives right now. The only knife maker that I have been continuously eyeballing for a lot of years and have yet to pull the trigger on is, I can't even pick a knife, but most knives from LT Wright. They look phenomenal. You know, I purchased this Bark River, and it was really hard to choose between this Bark River Bushcrafter and the LT Wright Genesis in 3V. And then I was also checking out the Outback in 3V. They have that new AELB stainless steel as well. Looks like a pretty good quality stainless steel. But LT Wright, I've always wanted one of his knives. They look absolutely fantastic. I just haven't saved up for one yet. So that would probably be my future knife that I'd probably gonna invest in. But If you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up and share it with somebody. We'll go ahead and get into the last thing, and that's folders. Like I said, I can't just pick 3 knives. I just can't. They all have different applications, but the folder that I'm carrying on the regular is the Benchmade Freak. This thing doesn't normally leave my side unless I'm wearing a belt knife, but this knife with the axis lock is just, I mean, fun to play with. You can just flip it all day long. This one is a is it S30 or S90? S30 V seal. So it's got pretty good edge retention. I really like the design of this knife. It is a beast of a blade for a folder. So that's my EDC knife. That's what I carry. I used to carry Spyderco and a zero tolerance, but I don't know. I've just loved this Benchmade so far. So this is one I've been carrying for going on about a year. So if I had to pick the 3, the knife that started it all would probably be a Swiss Army knife, and then any Rapala series for hunting. Current favorite knife would be the Bark River Bushcrafter, and pretty much any Mora. And my future knife would have to be something from LT Wright. Really excited to get my hands on one of those. I don't have it. I've probably had them in my shopping cart, you know, a couple dozen times, but never pulled the trigger on it. But those are definitely it. Large chopper is the Terava Scrama bush tool. Absolute beast of a blade. So I'll show you, like I said, Bark River Bushcrafter and the Scrama. Those are my go-tos as of now. So we'll go ahead and get into the tags. I'm gonna kind of do the same thing that Dave did over on Really Big Monkey 1. I follow a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of different guys out there doing what we love to do, you know, get out and love the great outdoors. So if you want to participate, feel free to do it. You can tag me, you know, with YouTube nowadays, it's kind of hard to tag, so leave a comment down below if you're willing to participate, or if you don't want to make a video and you just want to let the community know what your 3 favorite knives are, past, present, and future. Go ahead and leave them down in the comments below, and then also don't forget to go over and check out Dave from Really Big Monkey 1. Real good guy, makes good videos. I really enjoy when he puts out videos. As I said, give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below and hit that subscribe button. Also, if you hit that subscribe button, don't forget to hit the bell, the notifications, and select all so that you're notified whenever we put up a video. Share this video with a friend, kind of get this going. These tag videos can be fun for the community. We can all kind of play around and check out what everybody else is using. So share this video. Feel free to make one yourself and tag some friends in that as well. So this is Matt with Outside the Box. Thanks for stopping by and checking out this video, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. Oh, a quick little side note here is my least favorite knife. So let me get you squared up here. My least favorite knife, but it's also a very usable knife, is this guy here. And if you guys saw one of my older videos, back to the Mora, my least favorite, yet one of my favorite Moras, now this one's pretty old, is the Mora hook knife. This one I've had for a lot of years, but this is probably, it's an excellent blade for what it's intended for, but it's my least favorite blade. See if I can get that focused. You see that scar? I almost cut my dang thumb off with this thing a few years ago. And you can see there's a scar from there all the way down there. And I cut all the way down to the bone and lacerated 2 of my tendons. And my thumb has never been the same since. She still works, but not like old righty over here. This is old lefty. That's about a $10,000 thumb, thanks to this guy. So be careful out there. Thought I'd throw that at the end. Check the framing, everything looks good. Check the beard, straggling hairs. It's always a problem on these videos, being a hairy son of a bitch.